I don't need to get a new chair. This thing's getting worn out. Hello, how are you doing this fine evening? So, November the 8th is a couple days away. I don't care about politics. I never cared about politics. I think these are easily the most reprehensible people on earth, every one of them. People should have been taught in school, but of course never were. Excuse me, children. Anybody that wants power over other people should never be given power. That's right. These people don't even have control over themselves, much less do they deserve control over others. What's even worse, and what's seriously wrong with the world, of course, is that people surrender their power to others. I used to call this stuff witchcraft. You can actually convince a bunch of people to follow your orders and have you do things. Deutschland, 1940s. There's only a handful of evil tyrants, and yet other people surrender their will. Kind of like, remember I had a voodoo doll? You'd actually stick pins in it to make somebody jump on the other side of the earth, for example. Twist it. And is there really any difference? People actually, that person's in power. I should listen to what they tell me to do. That's actually seriously, unfortunately, what's wrong with the world. By the way, Ron Klain, and I don't care if you think I'm talking about politics. I'm really not. I'm pro-freedom. I'm anti-tyranny. I don't bother other people don't bother me. I obey the law. I pay my taxes, even though I don't believe in paying taxes, but, there's consequences for not doing that. I know all the evils associated with that. People keep telling me the bleeding obvious as if I didn't know that already. He was one of the chief advisors to the current regime of the great hair sniffer in the White House. I'm going to call him the hair sniffer. He says he issued one final warning to people before the elections here in the United States on November the 8th. One final warning? And everybody's repeating it. All these people parrot because the media is pure evil. They have catchphrases that they tell the media to repeat, like El Presidente, or what we call Senor Dementia, or Senor Hair Sniffer, whichever one you choose. Keep saying democracy is at stake. Being repeated by everybody. They keep telling everybody that democracy is at stake. And I know these people fearmonger. They've always fearmonger, and people will point that out to me. I'm not interested in the fearmongering and how false the fearmongering is. It's the fact that they're telling everybody that it is at stake, and you have so many stupid people that actually believe it. And when they believe something so deeply, just like a crazy cult or something, you can get them to commit atrocities and horrible things. You just need to have a certain percentage of people and to believe in some craziness, just like a cult, no different than a cult. And they will start doing evil deeds, especially when you dehumanize other people. There's so many examples of this in history, unfortunately. I found out some things, and I actually do some reporting, believe it or not. I ask a lot of people. And people say, it's anecdotal. You asked Joe Blow, but that's not a picture of what's going on. I've asked more than a few people on these two things here. I'm going to talk about one. And I've confirmed this from at least 10 different sources around the United States. I've asked a lot of people. One of these people I know, it's a local grocery store, but I've asked other people about this, and they confirm the same. This is Lexington too, by the way. This is not Chicago, New Jersey, or Portland, Oregon, where everybody's living on the streets in tents. And this is a nice part of town, local grocery store here. Every time I go there, I try to push my cart out, the cart will lock up. And I found out from the manager there that I know, he's actually a red shirt. It's not the store manager, but he's a manager over others. This is happening nearly every cart, and the reason why it's happening, I have to come by with a device and unlock the wheel that locks up your cart so you can actually roll your groceries out. They're robbing the place blind from dawn to dusk every single day now. I mean, of course, there's always been stealing going on in the grocery. People now are deciding between paying the utility bills or groceries, and they're like, well, I can't afford groceries, what am I going to do? I'm going to go steal them. And it's not like stealing is increased. It is absolutely, completely 100% off the hook. I know you don't know Lexington. This is, I don't want to say it's a wealthy town. A lot of Kentucky is poor. Lexington is not poor. The point is, what's going on here is, if it's happening in Lexington, my point being is, and I've confirmed this with other people, I've talked to other people and asked them about this. This is going on here. Yeah, I can confirm that's going on here. So people are just stealing like crazy. They're living off their credit. If they're not stealing it, they're living off their credit cards to make ends meet for gas or groceries. I found out, too, from 2 different locations where people line up to get food at food banks, that the people that are lined up at food banks is absolutely off the hook, and it is every single day, versus on Mondays or Sundays where people normally line up at the food bank to get food at the end of the week. They can't make ends meet and they need food for their kids or for themselves. Then now it is every day, and they're lining up like crazy. They're running out of food. They're demanding more people donate food. They're fear-mongering over this election. I've actually been worried, and I do use the word worried accurately over this election. The fact that they're instilling this sort of cult-like fear into people. So democracy is at stake. That if a certain entity, which seems to be the case, is going to be voted out, then that throws a huge monkey wrench into the great upset. The Great Reset. I said the Great Upset. The Great Reset is a great upset, of course. Excuse me, I'm always thinking about 10 things at once. That's incredibly problematic. So you're instilling this cult fear, and some things have happened actually today. I don't want to get into the details of those, where physical things have actually happened, where one group of protesters for one group of fools shows up with signs, and the opposite shows up with signs, and it's like throwing oil and water together, or throwing lithium and water together, which is just about as bad. There's a lecture, and I watched it twice, and I probably shouldn't say his name, and I'm not going to. His last name starts with an I-C-K. I don't really like the guy, but he was just, and I thought, this can't be true. A bunch of people emailed me about this overnight, and it's on BitChute. It might be on Rumble. It's like a 13-minute lecture. He was going to give it in the Netherlands, yeah? So, who's the guy that's the head of the Netherlands? He's a Klaus Schwab puppet. What's his name? It starts with an H. Anyway, he was banned. I thought, this can't be true. This guy's going to talk about, global tyranny. And I listened to the speech twice, like 13 minutes long. Banned from 26 countries. This can't be true. This has to be hyperbolic fluffery to get people to join his BitChute channel or something. Like, oh no, it's true. His last name starts with an I-C-K. I'll let you figure that out. It's very blatantly obvious. You should listen to his 13-minute lecture that he was going to give at a peace rally in the Netherlands. The Netherlands is obviously, on top of everything I've heard for the past 2 years, has gone completely tyrannical, commie, off the hook. That's just pure evil. They're so afraid of this guy. He's not, shaking his fist or calling for people to, any type of physical action. There's nothing like that in his speech at all. So this guy got banned from 26 countries in Europe over the lecture he was going to give. I didn't think it was possible. It's like, this guy's just building up, viewership for himself. Anytime someone gets banned from 26 or so countries, that tells you, these tyrannical, evilist, socialist, satanic armpit government entities ban them from 20. That tells you got to watch his lecture. It is a really good lecture, and it is. I'd say it's about 95% accurate. It's. I was posting about what's going on with Amazon. I've seen 3 sources for this in different locations, and I know it has to be true because Amazon stock also too took a major pitfall. They lost what were projected earnings for Amazon stock. Basically, nobody's buying anything for Christmas or the holidays. It is just way, 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 way down. And I posted this about what one Amazon employee said, where normally they can't get enough people to box and ship stuff, and they're forcing all these Amazon workers to take mandatory time off, MTO. People said, well, what is this? I don't like Amazon anyway. Well, I don't like Amazon either. It's not about Amazon. There's another guy on YouTube, and he's correct on saying this. He calls Robert Kiyosaki, the guy who wrote the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I don't care whether you like him or not. He's right on a few points. He's quite vague, but he's generally accurate. He referred this as the people that only think in terms of micro. And he keeps referring to these people that have their heads up their bums, which is really true. They see the gas is high, but they stay within their own bubble. So they go to work, they come home. They go to work, they come home. I know that's all most people do. But when I posted this about Amazon, people say, I don't like Amazon anyway. Who cares about it? It's not about Amazon. It's about the big picture. You know, pull your head out of your bum. And I don't care about Amazon either. The whole point is taking a look at the big picture. That way you can have your head on a swivel and see what's about to come down the train tracks. I have a question for the Netherlands and this tyrannical regime that banned this guy. And I don't like this ICK. I'm not going to spell out his last name completely. I don't have any love for him. I've never been subscribed to him. His lecture that he got banned from 26 countries for was about 98% or so accurate. My question to you is, and I read every comment, please tell me, what do you think the World Economic Forum is targeting the Netherlands? Excuse me, I should have said the Netherlands, the second largest exporter of food in the world. I mean, do you really think this has anything to do with, and all the farmers out there have been farming for 50, 60 years, literally, they know everything about farming. These are the best farmers in the world. Everybody agrees that the farmers in the Netherlands are the most intelligent, well-educated, best farmers in the world. Literally. Do you really think this is about what they claim it is, these evil tyrannical governments involving this specific country? Do you really think this is about fertilizer and cow farts? I mean, are you really that intellectually bereft that you think this has anything to do with CO2 levels, fertilizer, and cow farts? They said that 1 in every 5 farmers will be completely put out of business, blown out of the water financially. They won't be able to farm anymore in the Netherlands. That's the second largest exporter of food in the world. That little tiny country. This little tiny country is so incredibly efficient, and their farmers are very well educated. Everybody agrees. These farmers are being targeted for a reason. By the way, there have been studies that all scientists agree upon. Sometimes they get things right because you're able to examine CO2 levels in strata of like ice dating back countless millions of years. Back in the time when the earth was like 99% green and everything, there's flora and fauna everywhere. CO2 levels were like what, 40 times higher than they are now? I don't know if you know this or not. If you take 2 identical trees and plant one in the downtown of a city where the car exhausts are constantly farting out, you know, belching out CO2, downtown city of some kind. You stick the same clone of that tree and put it out in the countryside. The one in the downtown grows up faster, better, quicker because plants love CO2. I don't know if you know this or not, but in greenhouses they actually pump in CO2 to make the plants grow bigger, better, faster, happier. You know, I keep talking about cow farts and fertilizer and CO2 levels. Interestingly enough, all that green stuff on the earth, plants, trees, they love CO2. I don't know if people know that or not. As I mentioned about 15 minutes ago, fascism is never imposed by the fascist, rather by, let me put it bluntly, bah, bah, the stupid people, the populace. Deutschland, 1940s. There's only a handful of tyrants. It takes literally a type of intellectual witchcraft to get millions of people to do horrible, horrible things to their fellow man as commanded by a couple irrelevant, evil, unwise tyrants. Everybody keeps pointing their fingers ultimately at the tyrants, like we did on that Schicklgruber guy back in the 1940s. There have been books written about this, like, no, and I'm part German, so don't think I'm going after the Germans, okay? Don't even do it. Accurate books saying, no, it wasn't those handful of tyrants. There's all the complicit people down who's like, yeah, it's a good idea. Tyranny, evil, yeah, I agree with that. It's all the sheeple. You're complicit in it all. The same thing that's going on now, which is something different. I'm not comparing what's going on. Well, actually, it kind of is. All the evil that's going on right now is because you and your fellow man across the street, your neighbor across the street, your neighbor over there, your neighbor, you're complicit in this. You're just like, oh, it's okay. It doesn't affect me yet. I'll go along with it. I can still feed my family. Yeah. I'm pretending to talk like a really stupid person. Yeah, it doesn't affect me yet. I'm okay with that. Yep. Oh, you want to starve people? As long as I get my meal to feed my little kitties, I'm okay with it. Yeah. It always gets to you. People like, it hasn't hit me yet personally. You know, I'm paying higher prices in my gas and my fuel, but I'm still getting by. I'm okay with it. You shouldn't be. People are just spineless jellyfish. This is the reason why this is going on, because nobody has a spine anymore. Of all the tyranny that's come out of New Zealand, Prime Minister, what's her name again? Horseface something? Wants to treat, look this up by the way. I've heard this from a bunch of Aussies. The head evil entity of New Zealand wants to treat words as weapons and crack down on them too. This might be the reason why we haven't heard a lot recently from the farmers that are protesting the so-called carbon. And the same thing is going on in the Netherlands. This nonsense about CO2, cow farts, and fertilizer is going on big time in New Zealand. They're cracking down on the farmers that are protesting against this. That has destroyed their businesses. So anyway, this head demon, she said that she supports a global World Health Organization with international laws. The farmers admit that very, very soon 1 in 5 farmers will be gone, kaput. Here's another one. Chief Democratic Campaign Chief Sean Patrick Maloney. He encouraged New Yorkers, shut up, peasant, that are struggling to pay for gas and food prices. Yeah, this actually happened. Look it up. Patrick Maloney, he said that these people that are complaining about gas and food prices, they need to start eating, stuff is dog food, by the way. Start eating Chef Boyardee. Hey, you got a problem with them gas and food prices, you need to be eating that cheap dog food. Chef Boyardee. He actually said that. If anything tells you these people are not to be listened to, not to be obeyed, it's stuff like this. I mean, there's a million reasons why you just like laugh at these. I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm not taking your, Oh, you got a problem with gas prices? Why don't you eat some of that Chef Boyardee? Stuff that'll kill you and give you cancer. Make your cojones drop off. Make you sick and want to puke. Basically, it's dog food in a can. Oh, yeah, you got a problem with gas prices? Eat Chef Boyardee. So that actually happened. This is the stuff I wasn't taught in high school or college, and I knew they were always fools and weren't teaching anything important, so that's okay. I knew early on they were full of it. All money comes from production. Well, what happens when you shut down production? Remember when they were giving out everybody stimulus checks? Remember when they said you're going to owe nothing and be happy? They're just going to give you enough money. They're going to be a Fed coin, by the way. When you pay people not to produce, in other words, to sit around on their butts playing video games, what you're doing is you're not paying them not to produce anymore. You're just paying them enough so that they don't revolt. There's an old saying, I think it's like, all of humanity is only 9 lost meals away from total revolt. Think 1914 Russia. Soyuz, yeah, when the Bolsheviks came to power, remember that? It's a really important saying, and it's accurate, and it's timeless. Humanity is only 9 lost meals away from total revolt. So when they're paying people not to produce, because money comes from production, what they're doing is paying people not to revolt. If you don't realize that the Fed just printed $10 trillion to keep the economy from collapsing, then you have your head firmly planted up your rump. It's so important. I really do have to repeat it. I'm sorry. If you don't realize that the Fed just printed $10 trillion to keep the economy from totally collapsing, then you really do have your head firmly planted right up your rump. Everybody should make preparations. Let me point out something else. Some of the wisest experts on money, and I don't even claim to be one of them at all, and I do know the difference between assets and money and debt. And I'm certainly not living any high life at all. I'm definitely not, but I'm prepared as best I can. I'm way better prepared than 99.9% of the world. I mean, I know there's like rich people with bunkers and 10 years of food in it, buried inside of mountains, and I'm not talking about those people. You really need to be prepared. Every top expert on money, people are not selling stuff. People are like so stupid. They got what they call FU money. They don't give a damn. You know, they're not selling anything anymore. They don't care, but they actually still care about humanity to whatever little degree. They're all saying the exact same thing. The poo is about to hit the fan really hard, really fast, mega time. Like, not like a little kitty cat poo hitting the fan, but like 100 sloppy cow poos hitting a super huge turbine all at once. That kind of SHTF situation. They all say this. You know, forget about the fat, bald, tattooed guy who's posting a non-monetized video just saying, prepare yourself. At the very least, have 1 month of food. It should have at least 3 months of non-perishable food. Stuff that you can consume along the way, like if it gets near bad. You need to be prepared. One guy said he invests in everything that the Fed can't print. He has oil, cows, land, gold, silver. Of course, I don't have that. But I do have land, and I have a cabin in the woods, and I have about 4 or 5 months worth of food stored up. Some people ignorantly think that's living in fear. It's exactly the opposite. That's like saying when you put your seatbelt on, you're living in fear of a car wreck. Like, no, I believe in being prepared. What you got a fire extinguisher for? What do you got? Life insurance, car insurance? You know, you living in fears? Like, no, because I know that poo happens, and it is way better to be prepared than not prepared. The one guy, I'm going to quote him again, and I didn't know this about him. He's that Japanese-American guy, Robert Kiyosaki. I didn't know it, but he went down 3 times. And he's in Vietnam? Or is it Korean War? It was Vietnam, wasn't it? He's a fighter pilot. He went down 3 times, and the only reason he survived, he was a Marine fighter pilot, I believe. The reason why he survived going down 3 times, and I know this from hanging out at an airport with other pilots where we'd skydive every day in Florida. I got thousands of skydives under my belt, believe it or not. I've even got uploaded a video I made of me skydiving. These people prepare for crashes. Even regular pilots do. They're always preparing. They assume there's going to be a crash. That doesn't mean they're living in fear. These people are always the best to survive a crash because they've already prepared for it and practiced for it over and over and over in their minds. And that's not living in fear. It's the exact opposite. It's like, oh, well, you know, you're not going to get out of this life alive, but if this happens, I am prepared as best as possible. Whatever that is. People say, well, I don't have any money to stick away, you know, for a month or 3 months worth of food or any land. Everybody should do the best that they have, or make preparations with somebody else that does have land. Say, you know, I know Bob, he owns 10 acres of land. It's like, Bob, you know, if the poo hits the fan, can I, you know, make an emergency retreat to your land, and I have a tent and a trunk's worth of food, and I know how to hunt. Everybody prepares the best that they can, or you don't prepare at all. You're living with your head up your bum, and that's not a good thing to do. But do you really think of what's going on has anything to do with cow farts, CO2, and fertilizer? Because if you do, then what world are you living in? It's just ridiculous to think that. It's about tyranny. It's about totalitarianism and control. That's all it's about. And the only reason it's happening is because all these people are spineless jellyfish letting it happen. These tiny little people, these little nothings that want control over other people that are supposedly at the top. They're at the top of nothing, except in their own minds. They have literally imposed spells upon people, and I don't mean literally like witchcraft and Harry Potter crap. They've literally imposed spells upon them. I should listen to them. You know, they're in power, they're control. Why would you do that? Oh, this person is making totalitarian, ridiculous, evil, requests. No, I will not comply. No. No, I'm a person that follows natural order. I will do what's best for me and my family and my friends, and you can go stick it where the sun doesn't shine. You are not control of me. But some people just live in fear, like, okay, whatever, I'll do whatever. That's really what's wrong with the world. Not these handful of tyrants, but all the stupid people that are so complicit in it. That really, really is the problem. It's not my opinion, that's a damn fact.